sudden terror on Bourbon Street.
There were just bodies and the screams. You cannot think about, unhear that. It was chaos and very, very scary.
Everything in the car is hitting, it's getting thrown.
Just hours after the clock struck midnight, the driver in a pickup truck went around barricades, according to police, killing those celebrating New Year's Eve along the iconic street. At least 15 people were killed, dozens others injured.
This is not just an act of terrorism. This is evil.
The suspect, identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, a 42-year-old man from Texas who previously served in the U.S. military. He was driving a privately rented pickup truck from Turo, an Airbnb-type rental site for cars.
An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations.
Once the vehicle stopped, the driver reportedly opened fire on responding police officers.
Law enforcement returned fire, and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. 2 law enforcement officers were injured and transported to local hospitals.
Witnesses are asking questions about why the city's steel mechanical barricades weren't up prior to the attack.
There was police there at the entrance, a lot of police there, but the metal barricades were not up.
Bollards were not up because they are near completion.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The FBI, which has taken over the investigation, does not believe the suspect acted alone.
We're aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
And the Sugar Bowl for college football, scheduled to be held in New Orleans this evening, has been postponed.
All agree that it's in the best interest of everybody and public safety that we postpone the game for 24 hours.
And we are starting to learn more about the now 15 who were killed as a result of this attack, including 37-year-old Reggie Hunter from Baton Rouge. He had just texted his family Happy New Year a little earlier in the evening, according to his cousin, who tells us that he was someone who liked to laugh and tell jokes. He loved his family, loved his kids, leaves behind an 11-year-old and a 1-year-old just hours into 2025, Wolf.
Our deepest condolences to his family. Art Omar, thank you very much. I want to get right to our chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst, John Miller. He's getting some new reporting for us. John, what are you learning?
Well, Wolf, what we've been trying to do is develop a richer picture of who is the man behind this carnage in New Orleans. What do we know about him, and what can that tell us about motive? And what we've learned from multiple sources is that Mr. Jabbar apparently made, according to authorities, a series of voice recordings on video as he drove, they believe, from Texas to Louisiana to partake in these attacks, allegedly. The recordings talk about the turmoil in his family, the long-fought, bitter divorce he was going through. He discusses, according to officials briefed on the videos, where it appears they're made while he's driving, but it's in the dark, so you can't really see him on these videos, recorded apparently on his phone. But he talks about the idea of getting his family together for a celebration, which would have been a ruse so that he could kill all of them.
What a fox!
But that over time, after having a series of dreams about joining ISIS, that he changed his plan to carry out this attack in New Orleans to create mass casualties in the name of ISIS. So what we're starting to see is an individual who was experiencing turmoil and stressors in life, who was going to act out in some kind of violent way, and at least, according to what they believe are his own words, decided to do this as an alternative to killing his family. In the recordings, he also has a last will and testament where he divides up what little money he has left after all the financial losses and setbacks he had suffered to family members. So they're beginning to get a picture of what was going on, and it seems to be what was going on in the background of this individual's life that was as much of a driver as any commitment to terrorism.
Yeah, John Miller, great reporting.
Here that you're taking a look at now, this is 42-year-old Shamsuddin
Jabbar. We know that he is from Texas. He lived in the Houston area. We know that he was in the military for several years. We have a picture of him from 2013 as he was serving in the military. This photo here, dated from 2013, and he was an Army Staff Sergeant, and he was the IT Chief for the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team. So we know he has military experience, but as far as the official motive goes and direct ties potentially to ISIS, when we talked to Congressman Steve Scalise, said he was unable to confirm if those ties had been
verified.
Yes, thank you. Because there was that ISIS flag in the truck, and also we now know from President Biden that Jabbar had posted something on social media in relation to ISIS before this attack, but there's no official confirmation, as far as we know from the FBI, that was the direct motivation.
Yeah, it seems that Jabbar, at this point, which could be FBI related and investigation related, but it seems he has very little social media footprint.
Yes.
So no one has seen that video that apparently was posted a few hours before this attack was carried out. So it appears that that's no longer accessible on the internet.
However, we do know from our local law enforcement officials, they're saying that this was absolutely the intention. There is no question here that this was not an accident, that this was exactly what Jabbar intended to do in the truck that he rented, and carrying out this attack was the plan.
Yes, absolutely.
What? Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Keith Garvin. Daniela is off tonight. Investigators say that this man here, 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, intentionally rammed a truck into the crowd in New Orleans early this morning. The death count has now risen to 15. Jabbar, originally from Beaumont, had been living here in the Houston area. Police shot and killed him during the deadly attack. Now, Jabbar's last known residence was in North Harris County, right here on Crescent Peak Drive, as you can see here on the map. KPRC2's Corley Peel has been at this home all afternoon, where the FBI has confirmed they're investigating. Corley, tell us that there was a SWAT team when she arrived. She says that they witnessed some adults and children being removed from the home. She also captured this drone video that was taken outside the suspect's home. As you can see, there was a man here standing with his hands raised in the air. We want to go ahead and bring in Corley. And Corley, tell us what you've learned about the scene there.
Yeah, Keith, we've been out here all day long, and it is still an active scene. If you look behind me here, you can see Harris County Sheriff Office SWAT team is still out here. They have their armored vehicle. This is a property behind Jabbar's home here off Crescent Peak Drive and Hugh Road. Now, they still have this area blocked off, but our drone video did capture a man being taken into custody earlier, about a couple of hours ago. Take a look at this video. You can see a man standing outside the home with his hands up. There is SWAT outside the home as well, giving him commands. He does appear to be cooperating, doing as they ask. He eventually walks backwards towards the truck with his hands up, and they ultimately take him into custody and put him in handcuffs. Now, at this time, we don't know who this man is. We are working to figure that out. It's unclear what his connection is to Jabbar. We just know that he's at his house, but they clearly need to talk to him about something. So we will continue following that as well. But before that, we also saw SWAT. We have some video here as well showing SWAT bringing out some adults and children from a property behind the home. They were likely moving them to safety. They moved into a command post right next to this scene to make sure that they're okay, because this is a very active scene. We know FBI has a perimeter surrounding the home, collecting as much evidence as possible. And like I mentioned, we've been out here all day. We've been out here since before noon. And when we first got here, no one was here. We didn't see any police or FBI. But about an hour later, we saw some undercover detectives showing up and telling us to move back because they had to put a perimeter around that house. And they didn't give us much information as why. But later we did figure out from FBI that They are investigating this home, and this is in connection to the New Orleans attack. So we are continuing monitoring this situation here on the ground. We've been getting updates minute by minute. We haven't had any updates since we saw that man being taken into custody. But again, it is still an active scene out here. Lots of SWAT, lots of first responders and crews making sure that this area is safe. Now, if you live in this neighborhood, you can't get to your home right now. They're still asking people to stay away. It's unclear how long this would take. The FBI says it could take hours, but we, of course, will keep you updated. Reporting live, Corley Peel, KPRC 2 News.
We're just hearing now from the Associated Press that investigators have reviewed video of 3 men and a woman placing explosives around, possible explosives around this area. Tracy, this is brand new into our newsroom. So what does that tell you? And to the point about the sheets, I think the sheets were also put up to shield the hotel guests' eyes from the carnage on the street. So you're right with those 2 points. But now we're hearing this video of 3 men and 1 woman placing items, and it seems as though they are connected to the suspect. Tracy, what do you say to that?
Well, this is very, very similar to the Boston Marathon bombing that was just brought up, and the Tsarnaev brothers, where you had 2 of them, right, placing those IEDs. This is not at all surprising, because I do think it would have taken multiple individuals to place the IEDs, plan on where that placement would be, as well as then obviously use the vehicle to ram this crowd. But what that also tells me as well is, look, I'm former law enforcement. I think law enforcement is actually doing an excellent job here, but it seems to me that there may not have been explosive sweeps that were done of the French Quarter and of Bourbon Street in particular as a result of securing this area, because part of me does wonder if that explosive would have been picked up by either a dog or a device. Again, I can't say for certain if that occurred, but part of me does wonder. There's no question they are now looking for these individuals and combing through particularly that digital evidence.
And Peter, I want to ask you about how investigators handle the IEDs. I want to drill down a little bit so you can explain to us how this works, because it's my understanding that some were found and some may not be true IEDs. You know, what is the process like? It's obviously a very dangerous situation. We know that robots are used in some types of investigations with this. Talk us through how investigators work with IEDs.
Well, the most important thing is the safety of the public and, of course, safety of law enforcement. So what they'll do is they'll cordon off an area, and they will use bomb squads, or the FBI and ATF both have special agent bomb technicians. They will render those devices safe, which sometimes means detonating them in place. And then what they'll do is they will look at those items, look at how they were manufactured, what components were involved, and they'll try to track down where those items that were used to make the ID were purchased, in an effort to identify who helped manufacture these IEDs. But I mean, the most important thing, again, is public safety. And that's why sometimes these crime scenes take so long to process, is because it takes time for the bomb squad or for the special agent bomb technicians to go in there and render these devices safe, while at the same time trying to maintain as much of the physical evidence contained in these devices as possible. Because again, it's evidence. They want to be able to present it in court, especially if they identify additional co-conspirators. And then the other thing is they look at the signature of these devices to try to see if they're tied to potentially other devices, or even devices that are found overseas, so they can see who is instructing these people on how to manufacture these devices. So it's a painstaking process. But again, public safety is the most important part of the process.
One thing that I heard in Brian's reporting, the last thing he said was talking about the fear, but also the anger, that these bollards weren't up, that the right protection didn't seem to be in place. They were working on it. That much we know. And for people who don't know what a bollard is, those are those short, thick posts that create a barrier. You know, we see them down on Wall Street. You've probably seen them outside of a bank, retailers. They use them so that people can't ram into a bank or a retailer. And we've seen them in some public areas. Not sure exactly. We've got the cars that Brian Enton talked about, police cars that were used to hopefully try to prevent something like this from happening. But, you know, now looking back at it, I mean, this is going to be a huge part of the story, Tracy.
This is going to be a huge part of the story, no question. And you know what's interesting, Laura, is that these bollards were put up in 2017 in this area. in direct response to a vehicle terrorist attack by ISIS in Nice, France during Bastille Day. That's why they were put up. And they were refurbishing them, obviously, because of the Super Bowl and the other activities that you had mentioned. One of the things that they failed to do, the ballers, as you mentioned, at banks and the Capitol, all of those places have them, is they typically do extend through the sidewalks. And that's what they didn't have here. Those police cars did block off the street, but as we saw, this terrorist drove up, and as Brian mentioned, up and around the sidewalk. So these bollards didn't extend past there, these makeshift ones. And in my opinion, that was a security issue that was absolutely missed in this case.
Now you see now, you done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
The federal government is now in charge of this investigation. By that, I mean the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. I have not talked to the FBI. Maybe they've talked to my staff. I don't know. I did talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security a little while ago. And I told him that with all the respect I could muster, that we expect to put the full force and resources of the federal government behind this investigation. Our state troopers, our local police departments, our sheriffs, we've got many sheriffs here today, have been terrific so far. The federal government is cooperating with them. I hope that will continue. Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people. Catch these people. And then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation. But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth. And the people in New Orleans the truth. And the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know. And it's just not worth it. But I guess my final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
Really, a brief update on what occurred on Las Vegas Boulevard this morning. As you know, we just had our New Year's Eve event where we successfully protected the city, where over 400,000 people were here last night. And that changed this morning at about 8:40 when a 2024 Tesla Cybertruck pulled into the area valet of the Trump International Hotel. Very quickly thereafter that, the driver, who was the sole occupant of the truck, we saw what looked like maybe some sort of smoke, and then the truck exploded. Smoke was coming from inside of the truck after we noticed the flash and the explosion, and I'm going to show you that first video. That's the Cybertruck parked right in front of the doors. Can you play that again, Carlos? So the individual that was
unbelievable.
And obviously we knew that we had a much larger event than just a vehicle fire. And so there's going to be a drone video that plays to my left again. You'll see as the fire initially, they covered it with a tarp to try to get it to go out. Once the fire went out through the suppression efforts of the fire department, you'll see some of the evidence in the back of the vehicle. So those are gasoline canisters. They are camp fuel canisters and large firework mortars.
What the F?
What I also would like you to pay attention to on that video, as you see that, It looks like the exterior of that truck is completely intact as it sits there. The fact that this was a cyber truck really limited the damage that occurred inside of the valet because it had most of the blast go up through the truck and out. In fact, if you look on that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump hotel were not even broken by that blast, which they were parked directly in front of. You can see that in the video there. What I will update, I'm very well aware that there's a name already been reported out into the media. I am not going to confirm any names to you as I sit here today because I cannot do that with 100% certainty of who the individual is. What I can tell you is we do know the truck was rented in Colorado. We were able to trace that truck through the Tesla charging stations, and it arrived here in Las Vegas this morning at about 7:30 and went up and down Las Vegas Boulevard before immediately pulling into the Trump Towers. Unfortunately, there were 7 people that reported injuries during this incident. All of them still remain as minor injuries and were treated at UMC.
How many people, how many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it, it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
What? You think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, just do 5 straight days. But they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So capital is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in DC, right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on. I'm going to go up there, right? Because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. In my opinion, terrorists in general just leaving Afghanistan, a lot of them are coming up through the Darien Gap to the border. And there was a big push, right? Get in the U.S. while you can. Now, not all those Al-Qaeda's attackers, right? But they came in with fake Afghan passports. They came in with fake Syrian passports, fake Turkish passports. Those are the kind of the 3 preferences because they're easiest to get. And then, if our Border Patrol agents, a lot of them haven't been overseas, right? If an Egyptian shows up at the border with a Syrian passport, is he going to know that person?
Should we be worried? Well, that's it for today, folks. Don't forget, share, subscribe, leave a comment with suggestions of what you would like and videos you would like to see. Until next time, fam.